Despite being ignored by the media, despite the media blackout, what keeps you swinging?
Well, I think it's important, obviously, the whole philosophy of liberty. I think our country's in trouble. But I also tell myself and others that in doing it, you better have some fun doing it because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. And I do. I really enjoy the intellectual conversation, the fight, and the understanding of history and association with the people. And so if only 10 people had come out today, it would have been a little bit more depressing. But when thousands come out, it really inspires me to continue because some people want me to do it. And they reinforce the notion that this issue is important and they do want to live in a free society.
I can be sure of this. Memories are fading fast.
I found his message in 2007 when he ran for the Republican nominee the first time. And I was really into politics, but I wasn't sure of where I was going to be yet. And the more I listened to him, the more he just made sense. Just hearing all his positions, and I really started to back him then. And ever since then, I've just done everything I can to get the word out about him, about his message, and just get people involved with Ron Paul and to learn about him. Because there's so many people out there today that don't know about Ron Paul who need to just hear his message and give him a chance. Because if they do, it's a revolution, and it's picking up.
Patience are running thin, but I know we can't give up.
I actually host a radio show on a public access radio station here in town, 89.5 FM, KOPN. It's called the Mid-Missouri Freedom Forum with Steve Spellman, that's me, and Mitch Richards. So actually a liberal progressive show host that came after us, I wanted to do a presidential roundtable with all the nominees. This was back in 2008. And so he was going to take the Democrats and reach out to, I forget if it was the Green Party or something like that, and I was going to take the Republicans and the Libertarian. And didn't have anybody respond for the Republicans, but talked to the state chair of the Libertarian Party at that time, Glenn Nielsen. And he started talking about who they had, and he mentioned, well, of course, Ron Paul is running as well, and this sort of thing. And Ron Paul hadn't really been on my radar up to that point. I'd been kind of looking at a little different direction and wasn't aware from past years. So that's where I kind of got the name going, and then started to observe more, on YouTube and so forth with his congressional speeches. Started to get involved with Campaign for Liberty at that point. And of course, when Ron Paul came to St. Louis for the first regional Campaign for Liberty event in 2009 or whenever that was, went there and saw him speak for the first time, and got really energized because, well, I'm not the only one, I guess. There's a few people locally, but you started getting that regional type thing, and there were a lot more people there, and started to really pay attention to that and really started to resonate with some of the ideas that I had.
After studying Austrian economics, free markets, and learning that he supports that, as I already was supporting him and founded his views, and maybe dig deeper and further support him and maybe look more towards the opposite, the con side, as the other majority of neo-conservatives are, Romney and all those guys. So it's definitely helped direct my path for what I want to do after school in economics.
The economic issues are the ones that I watch, and really the budget deficit and endless spending on, pick your topic, one, two, or the other, what have you. He's the only one out there that's going to balance the budget, or even have a prayer of doing so. You've got Gary Johnson out there as well that's talking about that. The others give it, lip service at best. Obama is off the charts. Some of the others are a lukewarm variant of that. But really, as far as the fiscal sanity, Ron Paul's the only one out there, certainly on the Republican ticket.
What made you come out today? Why did you take time out of your work or out of your school? Why would you do this?
Because I really want to see my country restored back to what it's supposed to be, and I really want to be a part of supporting what I think is really going to make an impact on the American people.
How did you first hear about Dr. Ron Paul?
On the internet, actually. I'm pretty sure that's how a lot of Ron Paul supporters came to know about him. I started watching videos of him addressing Congress in the 90s, and the guy sounded like he knew what he was talking about. He was predicting in the future there would be a collapse of the housing market and everything, which we all know happened in the 2000s and everything, and then that's when I started looking more into the guy. I was like, man, this guy seems like he's flawless. Like all these other politicians, you can look far enough back and like they flip-flopped on some issue, but for him, it's like seems like he's like straight through. You know what you're getting when you vote for Dr. Ron Paul.
Ron Paul, he's just a person. It's like, but what he believes in is what America is all about. I mean, the reason why this country is such a huge train wreck is because the train of the country has gone off track of the Constitution. It's the massive $15 trillion debt that we have, the wars that don't end. I mean, come on! I mean, we've got Bin Laden. It's time to pull out of Afghanistan. When they got Saddam Hussein, we should have gone out of Iraq right there. It's like got no reason to be over there anymore. It's like, and then we got all these different bills coming up that want to control this and control that. It's like, it's basically like a doctor prescribing a treatment for an asthmatic to cure the asthma by putting a pillow over their head. It's not right. It's like, you got the Constitution there. It's only like a handful of pages. It's like, there's a manual there. That's all you have to do. It's like, you don't need to do anything else, nothing more, nothing less, just follow the rules. And he just wants to follow the rules.
We feel good about the enthusiasm of what's happening, and some of our people become delegates even though on the first ballot they might have to be pledged to somebody else. So who knows what can come of all this. We have a lot of activity at the grassroots, and nobody knows what's going on with the delegate count and how this delegate process works out.
Do you plan to support Governor Romney with your delegates if you don't get enough to win the nomination?
Well, we'll have to see who wins.
Will you support Governor Romney if he's the nominee?
Well, I'd talk to him about his foreign policy.
Would you support if he's the nominee?
I'd talk to him and see what kind of a foreign policy he's going to have. The other two have started to come our way and say maybe we shouldn't fight. So Mitt's a friend, and we talk a lot. We just disagree on the issues.
Can we look at ourselves and resist this moment in time together? It's not impossible.
As a veteran, why do you support Dr. Ron Paul?
My favorite thing about Ron Paul is his foreign policy. So as a vet, I take it a little more personally because I've had members of my generation killed for causes that just were unworthy and such. So back to your question, I just like I said, I take it a little more personally. When I was in the military, that was before I was political, but I discovered Ron Paul after I got out of the Navy, and I also think it's important for veterans and military members to stand up for Ron Paul, and because he does get attacked a lot for his foreign policy. So I just think it's just of the utmost importance that our military shows support for the man.
For our politicians, we need someone with integrity, intelligence, and hard work. But if they don't have integrity, you don't want them to be either hardworking or intelligent. And Dr. Ron Paul is just exceptional because he has a lot of integrity over the years, as well as being intelligent and hardworking.
The establishment, I guess, at large is looking for something wrong with somebody that's outside that mold. They've got an expectation. You have to look like this. You have to talk these issues. If you're outside of that, they're going to pick at you. I mean, like a chicken in the hen yard. They're going to pick until there's blood, and then, oh, look, there's blood. There's something wrong with them, and then continue. And for whatever reason, Ron Paul's had this resiliency that he's like, yeah, they're talking about this. They're irrelevant. I'm going to keep talking my message. And people are like, well, this is for real. I mean, this is somebody that is actually going to do what they say. I mean, and a lot of people will disagree with one or two things that he says. Some people here today say, well, foreign policy, a little bit different, but other things are good. And some people maybe say, well, I think that abortion should be stood up for or something like that. Or some other issue, and I don't like that, but a lot of other things. And you look at the other candidates, and you might disagree with them on 40% of things, or 80% of things, or whatever. So really, we're told we need the perfect candidate. They need to look like Romney, and they need to talk like Obama and be nice, and be smooth and so forth. But you have a real person who is imperfect. Okay, So I think that's why he's resilient this way.
When you turn 30, 40, 50, you kind of have your routine. You're a certain, you vote a certain way, you feel a certain way, your morals are there, and you're set. It's a lot harder to sway somebody who's older. But when you're young, you're open-minded. You want to say, well, who is right, or what idea appeals the most to me? And listening to Ron Paul, he's the candidate for me, and the only candidate I will vote for.
For me, I'm looking towards the future first and foremost, and the only candidate that is looking towards my future and everyone's future is Ron Paul. He's trying to do things for us that neither of the other candidates are doing, cutting the deficit, ending the Fed. I mean, he's making candidates now want to keep the Fed there. They don't want to audit the Fed. That's allowing our money to be worth less and less as time goes on. It's making the middle class go down, and we don't want this country headed that way anymore, I don't think. So.
How about opting out of Social Security? If you're under the age of 25, he says you can opt out of Social Security. I'll take it any day. Yeah. I'll take that. I know a lot of people that are 40 and 50 that says, put me in. I'm done paying that.
I'm paying into a Ponzi scheme almost. I'm never going to see that money again when I work.
A fiat currency hasn't worked in the past, and it won't work in the future. It's not working now. We need to go back to commodity money. We need our money based on something, gold, silver, anything, because without it, it's debt-based, and we're headed down the absolute wrong path. We're going to be the next, Soviet Union.
Zimbabwe with $1 trillion bill. $1
trillion, yeah, 100%.
Last year, Standard & Poor's actually did a review of our current financial standing of the country, and we got downgraded from AAA standing to AA. Now, if we weren't like the crutch on the whole world economy, we'd be just like Greece right now, having to be bailed out. Because no one's going to call our debt right now, or else the whole world just goes into a no blunder. But do we deserve a AA rating right now? No, not at all. And I just think people need to realize we can't keep spending like this. I don't care what candidate it is. If they're not on a platform to cut radically, then it's not the right platform.
This is a presidential candidates and how they voted. And if everybody will pay attention to this, anybody that votes for any of the other guys, they voted just like Obama. And Ron Paul says no on everything. And then on the back, I put Ron Paul's political opponents all, and I wrote this, interested in maintaining the stranglehold on America.
What is it about Dr. Ron Paul that brings such a diverse crowd together?
His respect for the Constitution, if nothing else. The basis of Ron Paul, as I understand it and as I believe, is his love for the Constitution, the love for America. The fact that people in the past gave us rights. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. A democracy is 3 people. 2 people don't like the third person, will make you cut your hair. A republic says you can wear your hair any way you want. That's what needs to be.
Well, my main thing is he doesn't want to control your life. He's not becoming president to have control or power. He's becoming president to give you back your liberties, and that should be a message that speaks to everyone. Somebody out there has had some liberty taken away from them over the last few years, so everybody can appreciate that.
What do you find the problem why the mainstream media is not covering Ron Paul's troops there? Why is that?
Well, simple truth is mainstream media, they're owned by the elites or whatever you want to call them, and the candidate that represents those people is not Ron Paul. So the people that own the media, they're gonna put their cameras on the guys that they want in office. For anyone out there who doesn't know, Ron Paul, he himself is a vet. He was in the Air Force back in the '60s, and but our vets, our combat, citizens. They're out there on the front lines. They're seeing war. They're seeing death and destruction. They're seeing it on both sides. They're seeing our guys killed. They're seeing, Arabs killed or whoever we're in a conflict with. They're seeing it, and they're living it, and they know how bad it is. A lot of these politicians and these big shots back home, they just they speak, but they have nothing to back up their words. They haven't been there, and of course there are some people who have been over there and are over there, and they do see things differently than Ron Paul, but for the most part, Ron Paul gets more support from the military than all the other candidates combined. I mean, that speaks for itself.
Even though our forefathers were very religious people, they intentionally held God out of it because there's no need to argue. What's right is right, and our Constitution is the right thing for America. It's always been the right thing. When I hand out these flyers and I say Ron Paul is a constitutionalist, they grab these out of my hand. You look at these guys, these young guys walking around, they're military, they've had it. They're sick of it. Take the guns away from our men in Afghanistan because you're a politician and you're afraid somebody's going to shoot you? What kind of people are we talking about? Who is running this country? It's sure not my family, sure not my children, it's not my neighbors, it's people I don't know. They've got their hands on this country and they're destroying the Constitution.
Do you agree with our military Joint Chief of Staff that our debt is the biggest threat to America, not kind of a foreign enemy with a kind of weak army?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
That was very interesting, and he mentioned that in the speech here today, Ron Paul did, that, you know, when countries go broke, when they run out of money, I mean, they can't afford to send people overseas for whatever purpose. They can't afford to pay the Social Security payments. They can't afford to run the roads. They can't afford to do all these things that we've become dependent on government to do. And again, what you said when the Joint Chiefs of Staff mentioned that, I thought that was very enlightening and a good observation.
The last time the U.S. went to war constitutionally was 1941. Why are we taking our orders from a United Nations or an international power when the power is reserved for Congress? That's what checks and balances are there for, and we're stepping past those. Once you do that, you have no more rights.
Do you feel like you're continuing your oath to defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, by supporting Dr. Ron Paul and being here today?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if anything, I almost, in a way, I feel like I've served my country more in the recent years just through supporting him and his causes than I did, you know, on a submarine, you know, out in the ocean. But so yeah, I mean, definitely.
But right now, I want to follow up on the energy you're talking about. You're seeing out here. What's going to take for that to have a broader impact than you've been having in the primaries and caucuses so far?
Probably a fairer shake in the national media. I mean, we're going to have the impact. It goes much faster if you get recording. You know, we can have 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people show up, and there's no recognition. And we do believe that even on some of these votes, at times some shenanigans go on. So no, it slows us up. But we say so often, I didn't say it today, that you know, armies and politicians and governments can't stop an idea whose time has come, Victor Hugo. And I think that is true. I think this idea, the time has come, and they will not stop us. And this is why we resent so much the government trying to interfere with the internet, because we do spread a message. I mean, when you consider the odds, the people we take on, you know, the military-industrial complex, those interested in foreign policy, the financial system, the Federal Reserve, the entitlement system. I mean, we've taken on a bit. So I would say the success is probably in many ways miraculous, but I think the internet and the enthusiasm of young people has been the people who've done it.
There was a lot of people posting things about petition for NDAA. You could actually go on Facebook and just click a link and sign a petition, and it would get sent to your senator. And I think that was necessary because it's almost the same thing as the Patriot Act, just allowing them to kill U.S. citizens without a fair trial, without a fair hearing. It's the same as Guantanamo Bay, being able to hold people indefinitely until you rule out that they're a suspected terrorist or you torture enough till they're dead. That's not right at all.
I 100% agree. I don't think it's gotten the media attention it should have. It has been in the mainstream a little bit, but it's no SOPA, it's no PIPA. It should be larger than that. I think Americans are starting to wake up, and that's why when SOPA was such a big deal, that we're going to go down that path, not the path of this Patriot Act is passed underneath our nose. But the NDAA, it's appalling. It's gross, the things that the government can do now, and I am personally worried, and I think that once people become more informed about the NDAA Act and learn more about it, that they will agree 100%.
As young people, with the threat of the Patriot Act and the NDAA, it threatens your free speech, it threatens your ability to protest, and you could be detained, and you could be labeled a domestic terrorist. Despite that, would that keep you from speaking out? Would that keep you from attending a Ron Paul event? Would that keep you from telling your neighbor about freedom and about constitutional principles?
You know, if that's the extent the government's going to take it, where they're actually going to bust down doors for that, that's when we have to, you just got to go all out, because that's when you know a revolution is going to be on your hands. Now, we have it now, and it's more mild, but that's when the crime actually starts, honestly.
I think personally that makes me push harder. Knowing that, if they're going to label me, come at me. I'm willing to fight for this message, and I think a lot of these supporters are, and that's why it's so powerful, is because you can't take us all. You may take one, but you cannot stop us.
Missouri State Youth for Ron Paul. 2012.
2012.
Politically, I believe this whole message of individual liberty versus indoctrination by the dictatorship of the majority should bring us together. Right now, we're not together. The pie is shrinking. The special interests are clawing away. They think, well, we have to spend more money on lobbying because there's not so much left, and we know there's going to be a limit. No, I think what we should be doing is being more concerned on productivity. The monetary system was imperfect in the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century. It was not a perfect one. There's better understanding now in economics on a better monetary system. So there's no reason why we can't pick up the pieces and move forward and have a better society. The Soviet system was up against many more odds. The Russians did not have the full understanding that we in our country have. We have a good history. We know something about our Constitution. We know about limited government, individual liberties, sound economic policy, and property rights and contract rights. We know something about that. So it isn't like we have to invent it out anew. But what we have to do is decide which way we're going to go. I know which way I want to go because I want to live in a free society. I don't want to be a participant in a government or a society that dictates through force on an understanding of what liberty is and isn't by telling people what to do with their lives. That should be your choice. It should be the choice of other people around the world. And I am absolutely convinced if our goal should be peace and prosperity, this is the only way it can be achieved. You cannot achieve peace by war. Preventive war, initiating war, that is not the way you achieve peace.
It seems like we're hurting more of our allies and helping with the current sanctions. You're the only candidate that's talked about this, but yet it seems like you're getting very little media attention on this.
Yeah, because they're challenging the status quo. We're challenging Democrats and the Republicans because they want the sanctions. The special interests want that. But I think you've inferred to a very possible consequence. It doesn't hurt the government of Iran, these sanctions. It hurts the people of Iran. Matter of fact, it hurts the people who are trying to change their government. So sanctions don't work. They backfire, and they're going to hurt a lot of our allies. I think long term it really hurts Israel. But just think of the sanctions. Those who accuse me of being isolationists are the ones who love sanctions. They've had sanctions on Cuba for 50 years, and the Castros are still in charge. It's a total failed policy. So I'm for free trade like the others pretend they are. The problems seem at times overwhelming, and some people say, well, how are we ever going to get 51% of the people to endorse that? Actually, you don't have to. You just need an irate, tireless minority who's willing to start these brush fires of liberty in the minds of men. That's what we need. So not only do I think there are many, many brush fires that have been going on for the past 30 years, I think it's approaching a forest fire of interest out of need now that we have something different, that we can't continue this spending, we can't continue these wars, we can't continue if we want to live in a free society. So I see magnificent things happening. I see it on the campuses. I go to so many campuses, and if it's truly a philosophic revolution, it has to come from the campuses. It has to be the young people, because the young people, when they become middle-aged and older, unless they belong to a remnant who remembers true liberty, they will fall the trap into becoming the part of the status quo. So all great revolutions and change of ideas come from young people, energetic, willing to stand up and fight for a cause.
There's an old quote, if you don't take interest in politics, politics will take an interest in you. And I think it's taken a deep interest in us, and it's looking to destroy us all if we don't step up. So now's the time to step up or be destroyed by the government. It's gotten out of control.
It's really important to do what you can and get involved, because this is important. like I said earlier, the heart and soul of our country is at stake, and we're dying. And it's going to take the efforts of everyone to turn this train around, because it's not going to fix itself. And if we just sit back and hope someone else takes care of the problem, like the government, we're all going to suffer.
If there aren't enough people that are awake when the collapse happens, they'll just be confused and afraid, and they will do what the government tells them, and they will do what the media establishment tells them. And this country, you think our civil liberties are eroding now, they'll be gone after the collapse. It will be martial law in this country. The Department of Homeland Security has ordered up all those millions of rounds of hollow point ammo. FEMA, we now know this isn't just a conspiracy theory. We know FEMA has contracts out for all these tents and body bags and MREs and easy to set up facilities, to keep people, to keep them safe, in case of a disaster, right? And I'm not saying that there's any malice or bad intentions or some conspiracy afoot, but I am saying that the conditions are coming together so that something really bad could happen in this country if not enough people are awake when everything gets bad. So there's that. Also, whether we win or not, and people say this to me all the time, well, we'll never live in that. You're a utopian. We'll never live in that kind of society. You can't, why even waste your time? But the question to me isn't, are we going to win? Are we going to create a libertarian society? The question to me isn't, does good eventually win out over evil? The question to me is, right now, am I going to do what's good? And am I going to speak out against evil? Am I going to be good, whether it works or not? And I'm going to be good. I can't not say something about these evil things happening in the world, and maybe no one will listen, but I can't not say something.
Making the choice to speak out about what you think is going wrong in your country. For me, the first things that come to mind is that it was both liberating and scary. And, there's always those questions of, who am I? I'm just one guy, and nothing that special. I served with some honorable men. I knew some honorable men. I knew men younger than me that I would trust my life with. And they earned that trust. They earned that kind of respect. But when I made the conscious decision that, yes, I am going to speak out, part of it was just stemmed from my overall understanding that the government, our federal government in particular, has clamped down so much on our freedoms and what the Constitution was supposed to protect us from, the abuses of the state against our liberties and our freedoms. But I can't be silent. I can't. I might as well put a bullet in my own head right now. I'm a driven person. I believe in something right now to the point that once again, I feel like it's important enough to lay my life down for. And hopefully, we don't have to do that. Hopefully as Americans, we can get our country back. We can reclaim the blessings of liberty and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity in a nonviolent way. I like to say that, we have the message. It's the message of the founders. It's the message that led to the greatest document in human history of freedom, the Constitution of the United States of America. We take that message and we couple it with the method of Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement and all that means in activism, and we have a revolution on our hands.
I think that it's really important to just do what you can. If it's going and handing out a couple flyers or just having that conversation with a beer and your buddy and just kind of talking about those issues, because they are so important and they really are going to be affecting our lives and the lives of our children and future generations. So I think that it's activism doesn't have to be a spectacle. It just has to be a conversation.
If you can't replicate that which you are, then what good are you to the cause? We need you to take it past where you found it.
Use your God-given brain and your ability to talk to tell people what the deal is and let them go research. Don't take my word for it, you go research it. But if you don't care about yourself and your kids, go have another margarita, watch American Idol, check out Sunday Night Football, and go to work the next day for $5 an hour or $10 an hour. But don't bitch to me, you know? When they come take your property for eminent domain and you do nothing, you know? I did something, I got my property back. And you're finding out people are taking on the IRS. There's a guy here in town 10, 15 years ago took on the IRS and won. They put him away, they put him in a mental institution, they tried every trick in the book. But he won, he never has to pay taxes again. There's a guy named Tom Snyder in, I think, Mississippi or Alabama, a lawyer who took the IRS to court and won in front of a jury.
I think you'll see a lot of libertarian Republican style candidates emerging in urban areas, and that a lot of Republicans will be looking to expand their legislative majorities by targeting urban areas with Ron Paul style candidates. And with all these candidates we have now that are leading, we have taken the chair of the Iowa Republican Party, I believe Maine, possibly Alaska, possibly Nevada as well. I mean, these are huge positions. This is the person that decides what all the candidates get money-wise. They may be able to cause some candidates to turn into Liberty candidates just because a lot of these guys just want to get elected real bad, and they don't really care what they believe in, and they'll switch gears if they feel like the momentum is swinging your way. And the momentum is definitely headed our way. I mean, it's clear.
I mean, really, Ron Paul has just inspired me to think about this country in a whole new way. And I spent a lot of my life thinking that it was just all downhill from here. And, you know, I think because of the inspiration that Ron Paul has brought to me, for the first time in my entire life, I really have true hope for this country because of the inspiration that he has given to so many American citizens to stand up and fight for this country and our principles, and for, you know, the principles of the founding fathers that, you know, we learned in school. And I think we've really lost our way, but he's helping us to bring it back. And that inspiration and that hope for this country is something that I didn't think I was going to have.
I'm a lot more aware. I'm just more interested in what's going on in the world and going on in our country. I almost, even though I voted for Ron Paul in 2008, that's about the extent of what I did. I had a few conversations, but I didn't, you know, get any arguments with friends, or now it's quite different because if there's an opening, I will definitely talk about the topic. So, you know, my friends probably got tired of looking at my Facebook page because every other post would be, you know, video clip or, hey guys, you know what's happening here. I think I'm just a lot more educated, and it's kind of exciting because education is an ongoing process. It's not we suddenly achieve complete and full knowledge, but it's just an openness and a continually seeking to learn.
Being an activist in the liberty movement has been extremely rewarding because I meet a lot of really cool people. I like doing stuff anyway. I like, you know, and having had so many years where I felt really like a victim of the state, it feels really good to have a group of people and to get to strike back and fix what's wrong. I just feel like very empowered by that. It's ultimately an empowering experience. You know, it's like at this point I know politicians in my community very well, and they contact me and ask me questions about what positions they should take. You know, and they don't always take my advice, but they ask, and that's amazing. Like I didn't have any contact with these kind of people a couple of years ago. You know, and now they listen to my input a little bit. They listen to our crowd's input. They want to know if they could possibly win our votes because they know we're very active. And they know we know a lot of other people who vote and who trust our opinion because they know we're so involved. So I feel like, and I've met so many cool people that just in other ways, you know, can collaborate. It's just a great way to meet active people too. I'm an active person and I like meeting other people who do stuff, you know, on their own, not just because they go work for a company and they're told to do something. You know, I like people who do things spontaneously And you never see more spontaneous activity than you would see in the Ron Paul revolution or the Liberty movement. It is unreal how much spontaneous activity goes on. You know, you never know what somebody might do, and they'll put enormous time and effort into things out of nowhere that are really cool. So I think honestly there could be a huge academic study in how much spontaneous activity happened in the Liberty movement.
Because of Dr. Paul, you know, not only am I a part of the political system, but I'm helping change it. And that's all because of the work that he's done and, you know, the way that he's paved for the rest of us to take part in this movement.
It has been very exciting to be part of this. To know that I'm part of something that's bigger than myself, I see it as I'm investing in the future. I'm investing, you know, I don't have children, but I hope to someday, and I hope that they have a better life than it looks like they will have now. Because right now, a lot of people have their head in the sand. A lot of people just believe what the media tells them. They're not educated. Right now, our federal government is expanding faster than we can keep up with, and we're continually becoming a socialist nation, and we don't even have freedom to do anything. We don't have freedom, you know, our freedom even to get the food we want is being taken away. So it really does excite me, because it's like, wow, I have a part to play. I can actually make a difference, even if it's a small difference. But I see it as anything you can do is important, just to get involved.
Hey, you can get involved at any and every level that you want to. If you want to participate, you know, go participate in a sine wave, participate in some phone banking, some door-to-door knocking, some blogging, you know, doing interviews like this, whatever, in anything that you know, as an individual, that I feel like I can do to help advance the message of liberty. I'm just an average Joe that loves freedom. You know, I'm not Murray Rothbard. I'm not Ludwig von Mises. I'm not Friedrich Hayek. I'm not Ayn Rand. You know, I'm not Thomas Jefferson or George Washington or Patrick Henry or Thomas Paine. You know, that's not me. But I've drawn so much inspiration from those people. And I feel like I have to try to do whatever I can, anything I can to help make a difference, because my country is on the line, and the future generations, my children, my unborn grandchildren, their futures are on the line as well. Are we going to embrace freedom into the future or not? And one of the things that we like to say at Combat Veterans for Ron Paul is the quote from his book, The Revolution, a Manifesto. Whatever you decide to do for the liberty movement, just let it not be said that we did nothing. At Combat Veterans for Ron Paul, we jokingly sometimes will just say, don't know if we helped, but we did some.
My daughter is going to be moving to Washington, D.C., and she's going to be joining up with some libertarian think tank organizations, and going to be doing a lot of educating and speaking and political activism type things. So, you know, I don't want her to move away, but she's really into it, and I'm happy for her, because it's exciting. It's exciting to be involved in something that really matters.
The passion being seen by Ron Paul supporters is nothing compared to the passion of our revolutionary generation. It's nothing compared to the passion of the Marquis de Lafayette, who heard about the American Revolution from France and decided just to move here just to get in on it. And when it was over, he heard there was one in France, and he moved back, and he went and worked on that one for a while. I mean, he chased the opportunity to help other people become free his whole life. I think there's just certain people that when they see that, they're willing to lay their life down and die for it. So I think it's a part of human nature. I think it's a part of what the market wants. I think it's a part of what humanity wants. Humanity wants a system of freedom where everyone can do what they want, as long as nobody's hurting anyone else. And ultimately, if we could just get that going locally and everyone get it going locally, then we could have a new era of prosperity and freedom, better than we've ever had before.
From the outside looking in, it seems to me like we should have more conscientious objection to a lot of the things that the government's doing right now. And it's really up to us to assert our rights. And it's not even, we don't have to wait on marching orders either. We don't have to wait on a famous person or somebody who, is a perceived leader of a movement. We don't have to wait on the leadership. You can be the leader. You can be the next Patrick Henry. You can be the next Thomas Paine. You can be the next Thomas Jefferson. You can be the next George Washington. And it's not to belittle the founders or to minimize who they were and what they did and what they accomplished, but they were fallible men. And to me, that's part of the power of the message, is that these fallible men were able to accomplish something so awesome that they gave us a constitution which helped us, wasn't perfect, but it helped us to restrain the government from becoming too interventionist into our lives. Those people, I believe, still walk amongst us today. Those kinds of people. It's just step up and do it. You never know. 200 years from now, people may say, someone you and I have never heard of was the key. Martin Luther King Jr. was a leader. And when people think of the civil rights movement, a lot of times I think, we tend to think of him in terms of he was the leader of the movement. Without him, maybe none of these things would have happened. The Voting Rights Act, so on and so forth. But I would tend to think that even if Martin Luther King Jr. hadn't been there, somebody would have filled those shoes. Even if George Washington hadn't been there, somebody would have filled those shoes. Even if Thomas Jefferson had not been there, somebody would have filled those shoes. Why can't we aspire to fill those types of shoes today? You don't have to. You don't have to be, particularly educated at the doctoral level, or have been a CEO of a major multi-billion-dollar corporation. These are not the things that we need to look for in leadership. What we really need to be looking for in leadership is honesty, integrity, sincerity, and when it comes to political leadership, fidelity to the Constitution. How about that?
Once you realize what freedom is, you realize we don't have it. And I think most people thought they did. And when they realize they don't, they want it back right away. It's normal it's a normal state for humanity to seek freedom. It's been going on for thousands of years. It goes back to the Magna Carta that established political rights for individuals. These are the things that we remember when we look back on history, and I think that right now we're going in the wrong way, and everyone in America's gut instinct is to become free when they discover that they're actually not free. I think most people believe that they're free, and they're going to find out soon that they're not free when they attempt to do something and they can't.
Ron Paul's always said, the message of liberty has no barriers. Everybody wants to be free. And it transcends party lines, gender, religion. It doesn't matter. Everybody can relate to freedom.
I was so inspired by the Adam Kokesh speech down at the March on the White House back on February 20th of this year when Veterans for Ron Paul marched there. Adam Kokesh talked about how at that point in time, Veterans for Ron Paul was basically not much more than just a Facebook page. and that you could, one of the things that means is that there is no centralized leadership. There's nobody trying, nobody with this huge ego that's trying to be, I'm the guy and everybody follow me and I'm going to fix this. It was so refreshing to hear that message of, hey, I'm not the guy. Guess what? You're the guy. You can pick up the ball. You can run with it. You can do something on your own. You can accept individually the responsibility to carry forward the message of liberty and constitutionally limited government and restoring this constitutional republic, end the Fed, end the wars, balance the budgets. If you go to war, have a congressional declaration of war as was intended by the Constitution. Have a moral imperative. Make sure that there is a clear mission, that you have a decisive victory, and then that you bring your soldiers home. And this group of people, veterans who had similar experiences to me, was just, it felt like home. Here's a liberty movement of veterans who were looking to our standard bearer for the time being, Ron Paul, and saying, you know what, we're going to make the most out of this that we possibly can. And I would hope that, that's what I've done. And I know from observing the actions of so many other veterans for Ron Paul that a lot of people have.
You can't rely on the media to get your message out. So really it's just people like, us, it's so important for us to get out there and communicate with people and really, let people know the truth about Ron Paul. And, if there's somebody who's a Ron Paul supporter, and you're not doing anything, get up and just talk to your friends, your neighbors, and, just start putting the message out there. Eventually people will listen, because I think we're in such a, weird time right now in our country that people want to hear something new. They don't want to just hear the status quo anymore.
They're starving for truth.
Yeah.
And I think people are more, I think that's why one of the reasons Ron Paul is doing so much better in this election is because people are waking up to the fact that this country is headed towards disaster, and they're really searching for the answers, and they're open to the answers being not where they would like them to be.
You have to change hearts and minds, and that's what Ron Paul's doing. And people are waking up and they're listening. They want to be touched. They want something real.
Even if everyone is against you, the truth is going to stand on its own, and Ron Paul is going to stand for the truth.
Ron Paul wants to end the war, so do I. So do the troops. That's why he's getting all the military donations right now. They're tired of going over the desert. They're tired of fighting these endless wars. It's over. We got to bring him home.
There's a movement going on, and if you're watching this and you don't quite know, you do your own research and it'll come. The truth is out there, and it's just waiting to be read.
Examine it deeper. I mean, what is an individual right? What is the role of government? Is the role of government to protect us from ourselves or to protect us from other people infringing on our rights?
I want to encourage people who think that they just have to pick the lesser of the two evils to vote for in the presidential race to really vote your conscience, to really stand up for something you believe in and don't be a sellout.
The establishment's very scared because I think that they see that the future is bright for the liberty movement, and that this generation that's coming up that will eventually, assume positions of leadership in government, they're not going along with the propaganda message that has been pushed at them, and they're actually opposing it, and they're doing it with an educated thought process. And I think that's why there's so much scampering right now with legislation like SOPA and PIPA and CISPA to try to shut down the internet and destroy that free knowledge that's out there that really is pushing the envelope and telling people the truth about what's going on, because you don't get it from mainstream media. You have to go to alternative internet media, some alternative radio, and really that's the only truth that you're really hearing right now. And the young generation has taken hold of it. So I'm excited. I'm just, I've learned a lot in 4 years about really our Constitution and Founding Fathers. And, you know, as we all grow more in our knowledge of what we, you know, need to do going forward in our country, we're only going to get better.
I want my kids to have a future that's not governed by fear, whether it is terrorism fear or economic fear. I don't want them to be paying. I know they're going to have to pay some, but I don't want them to be paying so much. You know, we have to stop it at some point for the mistakes that my generation and the previous generation not only made, but keep making. I want an America where people realize that, you know, it's not America's job to try to police the world, nor is it the government's job to be everybody's nanny. So I want a bright future for them. I want them to be able to travel without having to worry about the TSA. I want them not to have all this crushing debt, to be able to turn on the TV and not see that, oh, some other American serviceman's been killed somewhere this week for no apparent reason because we're someplace that we don't have any business being.
I think the moment when we will actually be vulnerable is when the debt begins to hurt us.
This is a big deal.
Okay.
I mean, we've got to get everybody moving. I mean, the country's going broke, and, you know, he's making some real good, sound physical policy decisions.
I think there will be a lot of people that look back on this and who didn't join the cause and wish that they did, and that will be a big regret on a lot of people's hearts and minds.
I think Ron Paul is really the spark that set off the fire, and it's spread through the whole country, and, you know, getting people excited, and, you know, really for the first time, you know, you have people who are focusing on trying to make this country truly free.
Anyone who does Ron Paul activism knows it's extremely easy to get other Ron Paul supporters to come out and help you do something, even if you don't know them. And the minute you meet them, it's like they've been your friend their whole life. So it's obviously a movement that is more important than and more powerful than we could possibly understand. That's just meant to happen, and we're the vessels that are designed we're here to make history at this point. We've been put here, and this is obviously our destiny because it's happening whether we want it to or not. It's just happening, and we're a part of it.
We should be optimistic because the numbers are growing, and of course there are many who have been in a remnant. They've been frustrated, their independence, and they felt like they have been disenfranchised. They are very much interested in what we're talking about. So when it looks at some of the statistics and some of the votes, it's easy to become discouraged and say, oh, you know, the cause of liberty didn't do so well last night. But I tell you what, if you put the cause of liberty out on the table and let everybody vote where there's less control of the voting, let all the people vote, the independents vote, and let the Democrats vote, guess what? We do quite well, and many times we beat the rest of the candidates, and we can come out on top of Obama as well. I leave you with a word of encouragement and a positive note that liberty, the concept of liberty, is alive and well. This movement is growing by leaps and bounds, and that if we truly believe in this, we will make a difference. Ideas have consequences. Bad ideas, which have motivated tyranny, they have bad consequences. Good ideas and the understanding the concept of liberty and free markets, those are good ideas, but they have good consequences. Let us not be tired and weary about where we stand today, because sudden changes can occur for the positive. Though we have great dangers that lie ahead, and we'll probably not see the troops return tomorrow, if there is a new president and one that advocates a different policy, the troops could come home rather quickly. It doesn't take years, and that would have certainly be the goal. Be optimistic because all great changes have been moved by small groups of people who believe in something. And if you arrive at a rally like this, you're usually in that category where you do care, where you understand or may be motivated to read and study and find out how free markets work and why liberty is important, why democracy, pure democracy, is not the answer to the problems of an ill-run republic. This is what is happening. And I've been talking about this and working on this for 30 years, but let me tell you, in the last 5 years, something has happened big, and there's been an explosion. So let's keep this going, keep your spirits high, fight for the cause of liberty, and return America to its greatness. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you, Dr. Paul, for waking me up. I want to thank you for being as consistent and strong on the issues and showing us that it's about principles and not just issues. And I want to thank you for having fought for our country and fought for us for all these years. I really appreciate it, and you've set an example. It's not just been speeches and platitudes. You've gone out and actually helped mankind, be it through volunteering and giving free medical care, and then educated us on top of it. And I know I've benefited, and I know a lot of others who have, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Ron Paul, for awakening me and letting me understand and realize that I actually have rights that the government's not supposed to be able to take away. It's a great feeling. It's a great thing, and I'm very thankful for everything you've done in the movement, and for saving me. Really, you saved me. I was believing the bogusness of the media, and you pulled my head out of the sand. So thank you very much.
Congressman Dr. Ron Paul, I have not had an opportunity to meet you personally, but I feel that I know you. I want you to know this one thing. I am in this fight with you. I am in it to win it, win, lose, or draw. And that would only be one aspect if we were not to win the White House. For you have certainly won a supporter in me for life because of your ideology. You have certainly won and getting me involved in the process, and you have certainly won in ensuring that I will take it past where I found it. So I want you to know that with this one supporter, all that you have done has not been in vain, because if I outlive you, know that what you have taught me will still be passed on down the line from my heart to another.
Dr. Paul, thanks for suffering through the 30 years, being ignored, to set down a good gold standard record for everyone else to look at, to understand what being an elected official for human freedom is really like, thus allowing it to become popular and mainstream to do the things that we're doing.
Dr. Paul, this revolution is such a great thing for our country's sake, but honestly, I feel like it's almost as big a deal to me for your sake that this is happening. I imagine how much trouble you went through over a career that spanned 40 years trying to get this message out, and you were all alone, and no one knew who you were, even though everyone should have known who you were. And now people are listening to your ideas, and I know it's not about you, and that's why they're listening to your ideas, because it's about the ideas. But for me, a little bit, it's a tiny little bit about you. I've got this little soft spot in my heart, and whatever ends up happening to this country, I'm just so glad that before you leave us, that you know you started something and that you changed people's hearts.
Thank you, Dr. Paul, for everything that you've done for the freedom movement and for educating us to the philosophy of liberty. Even if you don't get the nomination and become our president, everything you've done wasn't it wasn't done in vain. Because you've touched my life, you've touched my family's life, and you've awakened us to principles that will stay with us for the rest of our life. And I just wanted to say thank you, and that we appreciate it, and we're glad that we could be a part of this with you.
Dr. Paul, I'd just like to thank you for your integrity, for your honesty, for your fortitude, for your ability to teach us over the past 30 years what true liberty actually means, and to figure out for us what are the bad negative things and what are the good things that are good for us. And the Federal Reserve, the IRS, all those things are horrible for us, but we've kind of woken up to that, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you. And I thank you for the hour of your time that you gave me in 2005, which I will never forget and always be grateful. And I thank you for giving me my life back and letting me understand what true liberty is, so that I don't spend my time doing foolish things, stuff for the state, stuff for collectivists. And I do it for liberty-minded people, my friends, my family, myself. And I just can't thank you enough. And God bless you, Ron Paul. You are the man.
We support everything you stand for, Ron Paul, and we are behind you 110%.
Dr. Paul, I'm Jason Overstreet. I'm a veteran. I support what you're doing, and I just want you to know that I thank you for being out there, making the issues important. And I want you to know that it doesn't end with you. You've been the catalyst to help making this nation better. Thank you, and it'll live beyond you, and I want you to have my word on that.
Dr. Paul, attention.
Well, Dr. Paul, thank you for standing for truth and liberty when most politicians don't. That's very unusual and hard to find. And just continuing to speak the truth and being consistent when few others do. And also people who are very apathetic about the politics. You've certainly inspired a lot of passion there, gotten people excited and involved.
Dr. Paul, it's 2012, Tennessee, and I just want to say to you, you've already won. No matter what the outcome of this election, you have changed the hearts and minds of millions upon millions of people, not only in America, but all over the world. We're listening to your message of principles of liberty and the Constitution of the United States. I realize, and many of us realize, what a long and hard journey it was going back 35, 40 years ago for you. Every day you get up and go to Congress and vote alone. They call you Dr. No. That's a compliment. That's the highest compliment, because you voted your principles when all around you said, what are you doing? and you voted the principle of liberty, the principle of freedom, and now it's taking off. And this year, 2012, we don't know what's going to happen the rest of this year. But I can tell you this much, the revolution is alive, just as you said. I walk around and I see people every day in every town in America, and they're talking about Ron Paul. I can go places and say, Ron Paul, and they get it. And we understand it's not because of you, Ron Paul, that we're advocating liberty. We're advocating the principles of liberty, which is what you have told us. We agree, but we are so grateful that you have been the catalyst to start the new American Revolution. And no matter what happens from this day going forward, America owes you everything.
There's a better way, we know it, and we're going to find it. And as this thing continues, it's going to blossom beyond their control. The more they try to tighten their squeeze around us, the more people will break free from that, and their minds are free. And if you look at it, what we're really in, what we're really fighting is a love revolution. If you have love in your heart, if you have compassion in your soul, we're on the same team. Ron Paul, 2012, the love revolution forever.